Finally, a little bit of technical difficulties behind the scenes, but we are live. We are with you here on YouTube. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. So sorry for the delay here, but we've got a jam-packed show planned for you guys today. March Madness, NBA, NHL, our official World Series picks here. So coming off a 2 and 3 day yesterday, a disappointing performance there. The ones that hit pretty easily, the ones that didn't missed quite badly. So we'll try to improve on that today. And here to help me improve on that today, my co-host, my co-worker here at Vegas Insider, my guy Kevin Rogers, down there deep in the heart of Florida, with young Tito, who's scrambling behind the scenes here. Trying to figure things out. How's things going down there, Kevin? You making out all right?
I'm fine. I'm doing all right, Joe. I'm just trying to get the fire extinguisher out here, but it's okay. We're all good, and as long as we have winning picks, that's all that really matters. If we had losing picks and we had issues behind the scenes, that's one thing. But if we have winning picks, it doesn't really matter what's going on behind the scenes. So we're good.
Live on YouTube. On YouTube right now, maybe. Oh, there we go. We're running. I don't know about this connection, though, so we'll see. Okay, Kevin, we'll work with what we have here, so let's get right into the action. 7 total picks across the NBA, college hoops, and the NHL, so let's get right into that action. We're going to start things off with the CTP sweet spot down in Miami, where we have the Memphis Grizzlies in 10. And, of course, what are we going to do? We fade the Miami Heat after a win. Grid me the Grizzlies +4. In this game, beautiful spot here. It is the CTP sweet spot. It is the return of it. The Miami Heat 9-27-3 after a win this season. This includes a 2-12 ATS stretch in their last 14 games in this spot. They're coming off a 4-point win versus the Jazz their last time out. Also, they're a god-awful bet on their home court. No home court advantage in Miami, covering at just 29.4%. on their home court. That is the worst in the NBA. That number dips to 26.7% cover percentage as a home favorite. And of course, we got to dig into the stats here. And a lot of these stats favor Memphis, especially on the defensive end of the court. Big gap here. Opponent EFG last 10 games, second versus 23rd, first versus 21st in points allowed per 100, favoring those greasy Grizzlies. Check out the sloppy Miami Heat. Turnover percentage over the last 10 games, 1 versus 28. Grizzlies, very disciplined. Same can't be said for Miami Heat. Also 29th in rebounds per 100 possessions. Bunch of ugly numbers there. Give me the Grizzlies +4. All right, Kevin, let's shift over to college hoops. What are you looking at first?
We're going to continue the first 4 tonight, Joe. There's 2 matchups. We're going to look at the late game. Arizona State taking on Nevada. Arizona State is favored in this one. A lot of people on the Sun Devils, but I actually like Nevada in this game to cash against ASU. And both these teams, not the greatest form, I guess, in spite of the fact that both won over 20 games this season. But when you look at Arizona State, down the stretch for Bobby Hurley's team, they went 7-9 the final 16 games. And during that 16-game stretch, here are some of the teams they beat in the Pac-12. Oregon State twice, who stinks. Stanford, Cal, Utah. Not great competition. They beat Arizona in a miraculous win. They hit a 3-pointer from half court to beat them. They had a good win over USC in the Pac-12 tournament. But Arizona State, I still have a lot of faith in them. Nevada, meanwhile, 22-10 on the season. Last 3 losses to Wyoming, UNLV, and San Jose State. Again, not great teams. UNLV and San Jose State, they lost to in overtime. They did beat the likes of Boise State and San Diego State, who are in the tournament. They beat them earlier, so they have the ability to beat them. Also, look at that number. Arizona State, 1-9 against the spread. Their last 10 is a favor. I know it's a short number, but still, I can't trust the Sun Devils laying the points. And effective field goal percentage, ASU, past 300. If you're past 300 in anything in college basketball, it's not good. Let's take the points with the Wolfpack of Nevada against Arizona State, Joe.
Let's go to the Wolves of the NBA. The Timberwolves playing host to the Boston Celtics. Going to take a shot on the Timberwolves here. It's a +5 dog at home. That's too many points. You take a look at this matchup. Close or better in many key stats for the Timberwolves. Take a look at the last 10 games. They rank higher than Boston in EFG percentage, free throw attempt rate, opponent free throw attempt rate, rebounds per 100 possessions, while they're not far off in several other key categories. Minnesota, 10-2 ATS run as a home underdog. 10-2 ATS as a dog of 3 or more points, regardless of the location. This is a team that plays up to the competition. 9 outright wins in those last 12 games as a dog of 3 or more points. The Celtics really struggling to close out games here. Check them out in the fourth quarter. Over the last 10 games, they ranked 25th in the NBA in EFG shooting percentage, 25th in turnover percentage as well. Very sloppy stuff that can keep the Timberwolves in this one. Give me Minnesota +5 versus the Celtics. All right, Kevin, what are you looking at next?
We're going to shift to the NIT tonight, Joe, everyone's favorite tournament. And Oklahoma State is taking on Youngstown State. Oklahoma State's a 1 seed, and they're favored, but they are not at home in this one. We're going to take the points of the Penguins of Youngstown State. And Youngstown State did finish as the top team in the Horizon League this year, but unfortunately they did not get in the big dance because they lost in the semifinals of the Horizon tournament. So in turn, because you were the regular season champion of your conference, you get an automatic bid to the NIT. So that's your prize, your consolation prize in a sense. But Youngstown State getting points at home tonight, I do like this spot for them. Now, number one with Youngstown State, this is the biggest game they're going to have all year at home. And I know Oklahoma State isn't anything great, but still a Big 12 team. You get them on your home court and as an underdog as well. Oklahoma State was a team that played in the best conference statistically in college basketball, the Big 12 this year. Oklahoma State was competitive at times. A lot of their wins came against the bottom half of the conference. They didn't fare too well against the top half, and there was even conversation Oklahoma State should have been in the tournament. Obviously, you've seen them as a 1 seed. But because of a scheduling conflict at their arena in Stillwater, this game gets moved to Youngstown, Ohio. I can't think Oklahoma State is that thrilled to go to Youngstown, Ohio to play a meaningless game. So we're going to take the points with the Penguins of Youngstown State to cash here at home as a dog. I do like them in the spot against the Pokes of Oklahoma State, Joe.
All right, let's swing right back around to the NBA and let's go right back to the well with the Los Angeles Lakers. I like them -3 in Houston versus the Rockets here. And check out the Lakers. They're really starting to put it together. People thought their season was over. LeBron went down. Not the case. Saw them last night. They smacked the living shit right out of the Pelicans, and they're starting to really build an identity with their new depth, strong defense. A team 8-3 straight up in ATS in their last 11. Even with Anthony Davis out tonight, that guy needs his rest. The foot should remain firmly on the gas as they look to get into that top 6 within the Western Conference. You should expect the Rockets to crash back down to earth tonight. One of the bigger upsets of the season in their most recent game, an outright win as a 13-point underdog versus the Boston Celtics. Check out the bigger sample size, though. They're 4-11 straight up after a win this season. Very notable with a short spread here. And the Lakers have dominated them in recent years, winning 11 of the last 12 matchups. They don't play down to the Houston Rockets. And, of course, a lot of data points point to the Lakers in this one. Most notably, opponent EFG last 10 games, first versus 28. 3 versus 27 in points per 100 possessions. Give me the Lakers to keep rolling. -3 tonight in beautiful Houston. All right, Kevin, what are you looking at here for your final pick of the show?
We're going to look ahead to tomorrow, Joe, with the NCAA tournament, I guess kind of getting going, even though they have the first 4 last night and tonight. But the real stuff happens on Thursday, and we're going to look at an 8-9 game, Illinois and Arkansas. That's an afternoon tilt, and Arkansas is the 8. They're favored, but I'm going to take the points of the Illinois in this one. And both these teams were 4 seeds last year in the tournament, so they've taken a bit of a step back, and Arkansas was in the Elite 8. But Arkansas, they were just 8-10 in the SEC. Eric Musselman's team had a bit of a down year. They had some bad losses in the conference. Also some decent wins. Like, you're going to mix in some good wins in there. But they were not in the Alabama realm this year. Alabama, Texas A&M, even Kentucky, who struggled at times, still had a much better SEC season than Arkansas did. But Illinois, they struggled too down the stretch. 4-6 their final 10 games. They lost 3 times to Penn State. They fell to Penn State in the Big Ten tournament. But I think Illinois, they have the potential. And you see there in non-conference, I get this was a few months ago, but they beat the likes of UCLA and Texas in neutral site games. And those are 2 teams that could win the national championship. So Illinois definitely has potential to beat a team like Arkansas. And I think this one's a toss-up. So give me the points with the Fighting Illini of Illinois coming up on Thursday afternoon for our final best bet, Joe.
All right, my final best bet. Let's head to the ice. The Washington Capitals playing host to the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Team total for me, I'm going to take the Caps to score over 3.5 goals, and this one coming in at -110. So this is a big-time fade of the Sabres, who've been playing some real dog shit defense lately. Last 10 games, 29th in expected goals allowed, 31st in both high-danger chances and shots allowed. Between the pipes tonight for the Sabres is expected to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the shame of Finland, and this man cannot be trusted. He has a 3.54 goals against average. That's bad enough for 47th in the NHL. So had 4 or more goals in 5 of his last 8 starts, including 4 versus these Capitals back on February 26th. Worth noting, similar to tonight, the Caps were also in the second game of a back-to-back in that one as well. And at home tonight, much better offensive numbers for the Capitals. Top 12 in the NHL in expected goals for and high danger chances for over the last 10 games. Capitals over 3.5. Beautiful stuff there. So 7 total bets, and of course a lot of great betting opportunities coming up with March Madness right around the corner. If you're looking for a new sports book, I highly recommend placing your action over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. We got an exclusive offer just for Vegas Insider users. Visit BetMGM and use the promo code VIBonus1100, and you will get up to $1,100 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. That's VIBonus1100. All in one word, no spaces, for a first bet offer of $1,100 paid back in bonus bets. If you don't win, just use the code VIBonus1100. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years or older to wager. Offers for new customers only. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Yeah. Woo! All right, Major League Baseball season right around the corner. The World Baseball Classic in full swing. Spring training, a lot of people having a fun time with that. So let's take a look at the World Series futures odds board here, Kevin, and then we'll make our official picks along with a long shot pick. So, of course, the defending champions, no shock. We see the Astros there, plus 600, followed by the Mets really loading up in the offseason. The Yankees, we got the Dodgers. I'll say 50, Braves, Padres, Blue Jays. So a few things that really stand out to me. The Mets and the Braves, much higher than the Phillies. Do those teams, the Mets and the Braves, have more talent than Philadelphia? Yeah. But I don't think it's as big of a gap as these odds would indicate. You know, Philly, very impressive in the playoffs last year. Decent starting rotation. 17-1. I could see them getting back in, making another run. And I think the Cardinals are significantly overvalued here, coming in at 18-1. Meanwhile, the second best team in that division, way down there at 35-1, the Milwaukee Brewers. So I would argue that the Brewers are undervalued, but the Cards are overvalued. Anything stand out to you on the odds board there, Kevin?
You know, you wonder, Joe, is you see the Angels at 50-1, and you have the two of the best players in baseball. You have Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. And Ohtani does everything. Trout has to stay healthy. Angels probably aren't winning the AL West, but if they could just somehow get into the dance, that's all you got to do. And we've seen with these teams, the Phillies and Padres last year were in the NLCS. Neither team won their division. So just get in. And if the Angels can do it, I know Ohtani can't carry everything, but curious to see what they do. Also, I know this is really a long shot, but the Rangers spent all that money on Jacob deGrom, and now he's hurt again. He has the side injury, the oblique injury he just can't get over. That if the Rangers, who spent all that money on Corey Seager and Marcus Semien before last year, they spent all this money on deGrom, you wonder if they can make any kind of move or not. Those are two teams kind of I don't say outside the box, but two teams that weren't in the playoffs last year. See what they could do. But another team I like in the AL West is Seattle. I think that now with Luis Castillo for a full season, having him there, Robbie Ray, I know maybe that was a bit of a stretch in winning the Cy Young a few years ago. He's not a Cy Young type pitcher, but still a pretty quality pitcher. And the Mariners, if they could get the offense going, they just went cold against Houston in that divisional series last year, and they had that 18-inning loss at home where they lost 1-0. They couldn't get a hit, and they blew that earlier game. If they could just find a way to, I would say avoid Houston, but get over on Houston, maybe Seattle's a chance to make a run too.
Have it, Seattle. Okay, so let's get into some official World Series predictions here, Kevin. None of this lean or this team's offering good value stuff or official picks. So I'll get us started, and then we'll have a long shot pick that we like as well. So the team that I'm picking to win the World Series here in 2023, a team that's not as high on the odds board as they have been past years. They're still high. I'm going to go with the LA Dodgers coming in at plus 850, and I like them to beat the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. So after they fizzled out once again in the playoffs last season, maybe we forgot just how dominant they were last season, but they totally kicked ass. 111 wins for the Dodgers last season, 10 more than any other team in the National League. You dig into their numbers last year. First in runs and ERA. Complete domination everywhere. They should be consistent with that, even if they fall off a little bit. What are they going to end up with, 100 wins? Half the battle is just getting into the playoffs. They're minus 600 to get into the playoffs, the highest of any NL team. So a very high likelihood that they'll be there in October. You can't say that with the same confidence for every other team. They just have to perform when they get there. A lot of letdowns for the Dodgers in the playoffs, but they did perform in 2020. Maybe a bit of an asterisk, COVID year, but they still performed the highest level of the sport. And this is a team always a player at the deadline. Somewhat of a quiet season for the Dodgers here. Added J.D. Martinez. Nice addition, but they didn't really make a splash that moves the needle. But like I say, always a player at the deadline, always willing to pull the trigger, bring in some big pieces. We've seen it plenty of times in the past. Shohei Ohtani is available. I think he will be. Expect the Dodgers to be in the mix for his services. So give me the Dodgers plus 850 over the Blue Jays in the World Series. Kevin, what are you looking at for your pick to win the World Series? Your official pick.
I'm going to stay in the National League West. I'm going to take the San Diego Padres. And look, the one thing with the Padres is they went all in. I got to give them respect for that. That a few years ago, they were a dumpster fire. Nobody wanted to go there. Manny Machado was the first. Remember, Eric Hosmer went there, signed for a bunch of money. He's obviously not there anymore, and he struggled last year. But you have Fernando Tatis coming back this year from the suspension. He's missing the first about 20 games of the season, but he'll be back in early April. And they get Juan Soto at the end of last year. They end up getting Josh Bell, but he's not there anymore. But they signed Nelson Cruz, so I feel like he's on a different team every year. But he's just there to hit bombs. Like that's it. He's not going to play the field. So you have a very strong lineup in San Diego. The pitching staff, with the exception of Joe Musgrove getting a kettlebell dropped on his foot a few weeks ago. Besides that, I don't think everybody's ever had that, because I hope not. That must hurt like a bitch. But you have Musgrove, you have Yu Darvish. Blake Snell actually pitched better towards the end of last year. They pick up Josh Hader from Milwaukee last season to be their closer. Just get in. The final line. Don't have to win the West. Dodgers can win it, and that's fine. And you know what happened? The Padres still got to the National League Championship Series last year. So I think in baseball, it's just find a way to get in. They were able to beat the Mets in that first-round series in New York. They got some good pitching performances in that series. They have the lineup. They have an experienced manager in Bob Melvin. I think that they can get over the hump this time, in spite of them losing to the Phillies last time. And Seattle, again, that American League, it's open. You know, Seattle, if they could just get a little bit more offensively in these playoff series because they have the pitching, I think they have a shot to go far. But San Diego, let's take a shot with them to actually, I'm sorry, Joe, let me rephrase that. That is my World Series winner, the San Diego Padres. No shots, that's my winner.
Official pick from Kevin. All right, let's get into some long shot picks here, some teams with some longer odds that we think actually have a decent chance of making a run, getting into the playoffs, and winning the World Series. Teams that are worth, if you want to call taking a flyer, a little bit of a sprinkle, just maybe a one-unit bet here. I think that the Chicago White Sox at 35-1 are worth a little swing here to win the World Series. Lots of negative morale with this team last season, but this season could be very different. First of all, they were absolutely decimated by injuries in 2022. Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, and Eloy Jimenez, projected to hit 1 and 4 in the order this year, all failed to reach the 100-game mark. Major addition by subtraction with Tony La Russa no longer the manager. The players did not like playing for this wildly out-of-touch coach who did a better job falling asleep in the dugout than managing this team. You don't hire a guy in his fucking late 70s to come in and manage a team in a league that plays a 162-game regular season. No exaggeration. This was the worst coaching hire over the last decade in North American pro sports. I have 1 year experience of managing my son's T-ball team, and I would have done a better job, goddammit. And of course, they play in that AL Central. This is a shallow division where they should be in the mix to win it. Absolutely. I think they have more talent than both the Guardians and Twins. It's just about staying healthy. A bounce back from Lucas Giolito would help here, too. Give me the White Sox as my favorite long shot pick to win the World Series. Kevin, your favorite long shot. What are we looking at?
I'm actually going to stay in the AL Central, and I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins. And this is a team that has had some playoff pedigree. They have been there before, and I know they've had some lean years the last few seasons. But the AL Central, we've seen a different division winner the last 3 years. Twins have been in that mix. And that's a CTP favorite right there, Carlos Correa, Joe. I mean, unfortunately, we couldn't find any pictures of him with the Giants or the Mets, because he was only there for about 12 minutes. So we had to go back to the Twins. But this division is wide open, and you make a lot of good points on Chicago. A lot of these teams are about staying healthy, and that's what it is. And Minnesota, that rotation, yes, it is not doesn't have the frontline guy that Cleveland has, like with Shane Bieber or Chicago with Giolito. But they got Pablo Lopez from the Marlins for Luis Arias, who was the AL batting champ last year. But they get a little bit of help. They still have some bats there. Keeping Correa is still, I don't want to say a big move, because it's not a big free agent move. He was there last year, but he's still a very good player to have in that lineup. And Joey Gallo is there. I know he's kind of like a 215 hitter with 30 home runs. And also Christian Vasquez, the former Red Sox catcher, went to Houston last year. They're trying to get some stability there, and because that AL Central is so open, trying to find a team. I have more faith in them than I do like the Angels. When I talked about the Angels before, yes, they have two of the best players in baseball, but you got to try to get past the Astros and the Mariners in that division, where the Twins jumping the Guardians and the White Sox isn't asking a lot. Detroit and Kansas City probably won't be big factors. So Minnesota, I think they have a good chance to win the division just as good as anybody else in the AL Central, and then who knows where it goes from there. I know that they struggle with the Yankees every time they play in the playoffs, just avoid them. But we know who the top-tier teams are, and we're trying to figure out that second tier. It's always hard in Major League Baseball who that team is going to be. But Minnesota, they have some pieces. I'm going to go with them as my long shot.
Okay, there you have it. The Twins. Carlos Correa. We'll see if he can stay in the lineup here. So there you have it, our official World Series 2023 Futures Preview with our official picks and our favorite long shot picks for all your Major League Baseball needs. Make sure you keep it locked on VegasInsider.com. Okay, Kevin, let's shift gears here a little bit, kick around a couple other topics. March Madness, let's switch to that. One of your specialties. You've been all over that, covering that for us here at Vegas Insider. We put up a poll on the Vegas Insider Twitter feed this morning asking people which 12 seed has the best shot at winning outright in the opening round. A lot of people seem to like VCU. It is fairly close here. Usually our polls are more lopsided. But VCU, 32.7%. Charleston, right behind them at 25%. So if I'm giving you $1,000 right now, Kevin, I say you got to put it on a 12 seed to win outright. Who are you picking?
I'm going to go with VCU simply because of this. Number one, St. Mary's is in a terrible travel spot. They have to go to Albany, New York, which I don't think anybody wants to go to this time of year or ever. No offense, Albany. But they got to go from California to New York. And VCU, obviously in Virginia, they're not going very far. VCU had a pretty good season in the Atlantic 10, and they end up winning that tournament. They get the automatic bid, but they can shoot, they can score, and Not to say that St. Mary's can't bounce back from the Gonzaga loss in the WCC final, but man, Gonzaga humbled them. And St. Mary's, it's kind of like you finally got over on Gonzaga potentially, and then Gonzaga just runs you in that championship game. You kind of wonder, okay, are we that good or not? And now we get shipped off to go to New York. That's probably not the greatest draw. So out of the 4, VCU I like the most. Drake is interesting because they have an older team. Miami, their big man Omier, he's not 100%. He got hurt in the ACC tournament, so we'll see how that turns out. Drake may have a shot to trip up Miami. And Charleston, I don't know how much faith I have in them necessarily. The Colonial wasn't that great this year. So I would say out of the 4, VCU, I don't say the chalkiest 12 pick out of those 4, but most popular one. But I do like VCU. I think that they can pull off this win against St. Mary's coming up in the tournament.
VCU, there you have it. Okay, shifting gears over to the NFL here as we wait with bated breath for Aaron Rodgers appearing on the Pat McAfee show today. Don't expect Aaron Rodgers to say, hey, I'm playing for the Jets. It's not really up to him. He can go on the Pat McAfee show and say, I would like to be traded to that team, but still, the Packers aren't going to give him away for free, and apparently he would have to restructure his contract as well. So maybe he'll give us a little something on that show today, but he won't be the one. I'd be shocked if he was the one to announce that, hey, yes, I have been traded. That'd be a bit unusual, I think, given the circumstances. But some news today, some big names getting released. Darius Slay wasn't able to reach a contract agreement with the Eagles. They're starting to get decimated a little bit on the defensive end here in Philadelphia. And the bigger name, no one really shocked by this, but Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think it's official yet, but he's expected to be released by the Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, what's the big takeaway with Zeke potentially being released here? Well, you don't pay these running backs these big-time contracts. Dallas gave him and Dak all that money, and you kind of understand it at the quarterback position, but the running back position just kind of handicaps their salary cap. They got put in such a bad spot, and we've seen it time and time again. You pay these running backs for what they did do, not versus what they will do in the future, because these guys don't have a long shelf life at all. Christian McCaffrey is bouncing back a little bit, but I think Zeke is the poster boy for this. Don't give the big money contracts to the running back, and it will be interesting to see what's next for Ezekiel Elliott. Bit of a mediocre running back at this point here. So what do you think of Zeke potentially being released here, Kevin?
I'm not really surprised, and I know Dallas probably wants to shake things up a little bit. And I mean, look, Zeke, he had some quality years early on, but you see him, he's not fast. Like, you look at him, and he wears that short shirt, and he just looks I hate to use the term, like tubby. Like, he doesn't look, like svelte out there. He doesn't look like a guy that has got any speed left. And I don't know what it is. The Cowboys are always going to be under the microscope just because they're the Cowboys. And they got to the second round last year. They dominated Tampa Bay in the wild card. That was a really good performance by them. And I get the Bucs really dropped off. And they ran into a San Francisco team that was elite defensively, maybe not great offensively. But still, Dallas hung in that game. I don't know what to do about the Cowboys and where they have to go in this NFC East where, you see the Giants. They made improvements last year. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl, but they've obviously lost some pieces, some coaches, got new jobs. Some of the players are gone. So I don't know what to think about the Eagles. And then we look at the Commanders, where Washington's trying to figure out their quarterback position, which has been, a bit of an issue. Dallas is still going to be a 10-plus win team, I think. But I just don't know where they're going to go. I mean, you have Tony Pollard. So you have a running back there. But, Zeke, big name, guy that had a really good college career at Ohio State. And now, I don't want to use the term he's eating himself out of the league, but you just look at him, he doesn't look like he used to. He doesn't look like he has the same speed as he used to. So giving him that money, I think, was a big mistake.
Yeah, sometimes these guys get paid, and they don't try as hard. They don't train as much in the offseason. They're not worried about being in as good of shape, right? So, the end of an era in Dallas, probably a good thing. Okay, guys, let me tell you a little bit about the Vegas Insider app right now. It gives you all the major sports betting odds at your fingertips along with picks and expert breakdowns. If you want more Vegas Insider content like our shows, videos, and podcasts, you can find it all on the app in the media section. Download the Vegas Insider app on Apple or Android. Bet better with